our final part of Kircher's Egyptian chronology. Dynastia trigesima duam et ultima Aegyptiorum. Nectanebus primus huius dynastiae et ultimus, fuit magus et incantator maximus, nam per fascinationes et magicas praestigias ad daemone multa extorsit, ad futurum rerum statum spectantia. Inter coeteras divinationes et magicas incantationes leucanomantiam eias nimirum, quae in pellui aquam plena exhibere solent, exercuit. Nam cum Artaxerxes-Ocus in procinctu esset ad Aegyptum occupandam, Nectanebus cum per oracula huius modi magica comperisset, Aegyptiaci imperii per ocum destructionem. In genti auri ac pretiosorum lapidum vi et quicquid in gaso Phylacio regio denique eximium erat conversato. Si multatoque habitu insciis omnibus in Macedoniam fugit, et si alii eum ut Eusebius in Aethiopam fugisse malint. Ubi magicas exercitiis Olympiam Philippi Macedonum coniuge fascinatam, cum ei persuasisset futurum ut ex Deo Hammane filium conciperet, quid universo orbi imperaret, ipse sub forma dicta Hammonis, cuius speciem Olympiae per incantationes in somno iam exhibuerat reginae concumbrens, generavit filium, qui postea ob rerum gustarum gloriam Alexander Magnus dictus est. Narrat haec Iosef ben Gorion, verum nos de magia cuius regis et artibus variis, quas ab Aegyptiis hereditatae acceperat, multa suo loco dicemus. Atque sub hoc rege Aegyptiorum regnum destructum, a Persarum regibus translatum, Graecorum imperio accesit, nam Nectanebo pulso Ocus qui et Artaxerxes secundus Persarum rex eo potibus est, quo fatis concesso filium Arsen subrogavit in locum suum. Postquem Darius successit filius Arsis, qui postquam 6 annis id administrasset, Alexander Magnus in Babylone interfecto Dario sicut totum Persarum regnum suo domino subiecit. Sicut totum Persarum regnum suo dominio subiecit, sic et Aegyptum universam. Alexandro, vero triginti quator aetatis suae anno in Babylono defuncto, imperioque in multos translato diversi regnarunt. Atque Aegyptus quidem Ptolemais in sortem opticit, quo administrato per 30 ferme annos a Ptolemais ad Cleopatram, ab hac demum ad Romanos devolutum, et ad Romanis ad Mahometanos, tandem a gloria sua discivit. Atque hae sunt 32 dynastiae, per quas Aegyptiorum imperium indicta tempora propagatum fuit, quarum 21 ex Graecis descripsimus, eas nimirum, qua ad 16 initium sumunt, reliquis 15 ex Arabum monumentis de promptis. Totum itaque illud temporum intervallum, quo ab orbe condito, et a deluvio orbis usque ad salutis nostrae adventum. Aegypti dominium perstitit, in quator partes seu temporum discrimina partiri visum fuit. Ita quidem, ut totum illud temporis spacium ab orbe condito usque ad diluvium dicamus dynastias Aegypti primaevas, secundum mentem Arabum, a diluvio vero usque ad Abrahami navitatem, dicamus dynastiam Deorum, seu Heroum regnum. Ab Abrahami vero nativitate seu Hori postremi Deorum usque ad annum, quo Ocus rex Persarum Aegypto potitus est, regnum Pharaonicum appellamus. Spacium denique hinc ad Christum, regnum inscribamus Ptolemaicum, sic enim fiet, ut omnibus iis, quae confusionem temporum, aliasque inconvenientas ad ferre possunt, vitatis maiore luci et claritate procedamus. Vide bis autem in hac sequenti pinace chronologico singulos Aegypti reges accamo incipiendo, usque ad Julium Caesarem ordine positos, cum annis, quibus unus quisque regnavit correspondentibus annis a mundo condito et diluvio elapsis, quibus etiam adidimus viros illustres, qui sub unius quiusque regis dominio tunc in orbe clarebant, aliaque memoriam digna, quae comparabunt in subjecta nostra chronographia. Multum enim prodidit haec chronographia cum ad opus nostrum ex integro intelligendum. Tum ad locos difficiles, quae passim circa temporum rationem occurrunt, explicandos, eam igiter ultra et fruere. All right, this final part is a mouthful. Let's go. The 32nd and final dynasty of the Egyptians. Nectanebus was the first and last of this dynasty. He was a great magician and enchanter, for by means of enchantments and magical tricks he extorted many things from a demon concerning the future state of the world. Among other divinations and magical incantations, leucanomantia, that's like scrying, I guess, he practiced those things which are usually performed in a bowl of full water. For when Artaxerxes-Ocus was preparing to conquer Egypt, Nectanebus, having learned through such magical oracles of the destruction of the Egyptian empire by Ocus, with his immense wealth of gold and precious stones and whatever else he had in the royal treasury, having plundered it, and having hidden himself in a disguise, he fled to Macedonia without the knowledge of any. Although some other authors, such as Eusebius, wrongly assert that he fled to Ethiopia, where, in Macedonia, having bewitched Olympias, the wife of Phillip, with magical exercises, he persuaded her that she would conceive a son from the god Ammon, who would rule the whole world. Then he himself, disguised in the form of Ammon, whose image Queen Olympias had already been accustomed to behold by incantations in her sleep, he had intercourse with her, and begot a son, who afterwards was called Alexander the Great, for the glory of his deeds. Joseph Ben-Gurion relates these things, but we will say much in its proper place about the magic of this king and the various arts which he had inherited from the Egyptians. And so under this king the kingdom of the Egyptians, which had been destroyed and transferred by the Persian kings, came under the rule of the Greeks. For after Nectanebo was deposed, Ocus, who was also Artaxerxes, the second king of the Persians, took possession of it, and as fate would have it, he substituted his son Arsin in his place. After him Darius, the son of Arsin, succeeded, who, after having administered it for 6 years, Alexander the Great, having killed Darius in Babylon, subjected the whole of the Persian Empire to his dominion, as well as all of Egypt. But after Alexander died in Babylon in the 34th year of his age, his empire was transferred to others, with many different people reigning. And so Egypt fell by lot to the Ptolemies, which, after being administered for nearly 300 years down to Cleopatra, from her finally passed to the Romans, and from the Romans passed to the followers of Muhammad, finally falling from its glory. And these are the 32 dynasties through which the Egyptian empire was spread throughout the ages, of which we have described 21 from 2 Greek authors, namely those which began with the 16th, the remaining 15 having been taken from the monuments of the Arabs. Therefore, for the entire period of time during which Egypt continued to rule, from the creation of the world and from the flood to the coming of our Savior, it seems appropriate to divide it into 4 parts or periods of time, so that we may call the entire space of time from the creation of the world to the flood the earliest dynasties, according to the mind of the Arabs. That time from the flood to the birth of Abraham we may term the dynasty of the gods, or the kingdom of heroes. And from the birth of Abraham, or Horus, the last of the gods, until the year in which Ocus, king of the Persians, took possession of Egypt, we shall call the kingdom of the Pharaohs. Finally, let us consider the space from this time to Christ, the Ptolemaic kingdom. For it will be so that, having avoided all those things which can bring confusion of times and other incongruities, we may proceed with greater light and clarity. Now you will behold in this following section a chronological pinax, the individual kings of Egypt, beginning with Cham and ending with Julius Caesar, placed in their proper order, with the years in which each king reigned, corresponding to the years since the creation of the world and time of the flood, to which we have also added the names of illustrious men who were famous in the world under the rule of each Egyptian king, and other things worthy of remembrance, which will appear in the subjects of our Chronographia. For this Chronographia will be of great use both to understand our work from the very beginning, and to explain the more difficult places which occur here and there about the system of times. Therefore, use it and enjoy it.